My name is Kevin. I'm 36, and this happened last winter on I-40 outside Amarillo, Texas. I haven't been sleeping right since, and I'm saying it out loud because it feels worse keeping it in my head. I run long haul in a 53-footer dry van, mostly southwest to midwest and back. Nothing glamorous. A lot of coffee, a lot of diesel, and the same cracked shoulders and wind that shoves the trailer sideways when the gusts roll across those flat miles. That night was routine. Drop in Albuquerque, pick up near Gallup, push east into Texas, then shut down around Shamrock if I was making decent time. The forecast was clear. Cold, but clear. That's the best you get in January. My dashcam is always on. Company policy and common sense. Front cam on the windshield, rear-facing cabin cam that I tape over half the time, because I hate the feeling of being watched while I am alone in the dark. The front cam has saved my ass more than once with four-wheelers cutting in and slamming brakes. It just records, splits files every 10 minutes. You don't think about it. You forget it's there until you need to prove you weren't the idiot. I rolled out after 6 p.m., already dark. You know that tight hum of new tires on cold asphalt? The sort of singing tone that disappears once they warm up. That's how the first hour felt. The heater fought the cab's draft. My hands felt dry on the wheel. I had a thermos of burnt truck stop coffee and 2 beef sticks in the door pocket. Radio off. I like the silence sometimes, just the engine note and the hiss when the turbo leans in on a grade. The sky was a black dome, no moon. The kind of night where your headlights carve a tunnel and the world is only that tunnel. Somewhere east of Tucumcari, I passed a lone figure on the right shoulder. I almost didn't register it. It happens. A stranded driver, a walker from a broken-down car, sometimes a guy who's drunk or high and has no idea how close he is to dying under 18 wheels. The dashcam got it, obviously, but to my eyes in real time, it was just a shape. Dark jacket, hood up, hands at his sides. No waving, no thumb out. Just standing inside the fog line, toes almost on the white. I gave him space. Moved left. No car parked ahead, no hazards, nothing. I told myself maybe his ride had just left, or he'd lost something, or he was waiting on a tow. I checked the mirror once, then again. He didn't turn his head when my trailer blasted past. He stayed looking down the road like he was watching something that hadn't arrived yet. I told myself to let it go. There's a rule out here, stop for what you can help, and don't get yourself killed being a hero. Night shoulders are bad news. I kept rolling. Fuel outside San John. I topped off just to be safe, cold pump handles, that raw diesel stink that sticks in your gloves. I went in for a bathroom and a bottled water. When I came back out, a gust slammed the door into my thigh and I said something out loud, something stupid like Jesus, just to hear a voice. I walked my usual loop. Tires, lights, seals, latch. My trailer lock was fine. The seal number matched the bill. I like to touch the latch even when I know I set it. Habit, I didn't see it then, but I remember thinking the metal felt extra cold, like freezer burn cold. Back on the highway, I watch the mile markers. They're like a metronome. 318, 317, 316. It calms you because it's predictable. I crossed into Texas and the shoulder widens out a bit on some stretches. Empty fields, those center pivot rigs like metal spiders sleeping in the dark. Then I saw him again. Same posture, same jacket, same slow turn of the head as my headlights washed over him. Only this was hours later, and easily 180, 190 miles from where I first saw him. It slapped me awake in a way caffeine can't. A thought hit me hard and stupid. Maybe there are 2 guys dressed the same, standing the same way. Maybe Highway Patrol put out decoys to slow traffic. I've seen cardboard cop cars in small towns. But no, this was just a man, flesh and bone, breathing steam I could barely see, planted at the edge of a farm access road like he'd grown out of it. I talked myself down. The jacket was common, dark puffer, hood up. 1 million people have it. The mind wants patterns. I told myself I was making a pattern where there wasn't one. Keep driving, I said. I actually said it out loud, like the road needed to hear it. Keep driving. I don't blast music. I clicked the radio on just to have something human in the cab. I got a talk station out of Amarillo. Ads for farm supply and a roofing company with a jingle that made my teeth itch. It helped for a bit. I kept my eyes moving. Mirrors, gauges, mirrors again. My mirrors are religion to me. I live in those convex glass circles at night. An hour later, near Groom, my right mirror caught something that made me breathe wrong for a few seconds. Not the man, not yet. A strip of something light stuck to the trailer hinge. White or grey, flapping a little. I told myself it was tape from a warehouse or paper stuck in a seam. It happens. But then the trailer made a sound like a dull knock 3 times, spaced out. Not a pothole, not expansion joints. A knock, pause, knock, pause, knock. I turned the radio off. It didn't repeat. I convinced myself it was the wind trying out new ideas. I decided to pull into a rest area past Alan Reed to check that strip of whatever and to top off my caffeine. The lot was half empty. Sodium lights buzzed and made everything look sickly. Cold hit me in the face when I opened the door, and steam came off my thermos like it had a soul leaving. I walked the right side first, because that's where I saw the flapping. It was a thin zip tie, cut clean on the end, tightened around the door latch handle so it sat like a reminder tag. I didn't put it there. Nobody at the shipper put it there. Those guys don't waste zip ties on my latch. We use seals. This was placed with intention. I cut it off with a box cutter and dropped it in my pocket. That pocket felt heavy enough to tilt my whole frame. I circled the trailer. All the tires were fine. Brakes looked fine. Lights all on. The hinge closest to the latch had a smear on it that looked like the dusty grey mix you get when a glove picks up road grime. A thumbprint maybe, dragged like a comma. I didn't like that I could imagine the size of the thumb that made it. Average. Male. On my way around the nose of the truck, I looked out over the lot. There's a rule about these lights too. They're bright enough to make you think you can see, but they breed shadows in their own corners. Under one of those shadows by the picnic table, I saw a figure. Hood up, hands in pockets, not moving, watching my truck. The first step between seeing and doing something was a thin, stupid slice of time where I tried to tell myself I was seeing a shape, not a person. Then my body did the math my brain didn't want to do, and I got in the cab quick, like a little kid who thinks something might grab his ankle if he lingers. I locked both doors with my knuckles. Boom, boom. I turned the key just to hear the engine again. The dashcam came to life with that tiny red LED in the lower corner. It barely shows in your peripheral, but you feel it when you know it's there. I didn't peel out, nothing dramatic. I pulled back onto the ramp, took a breath and merged. The mirror showed the lot shrinking. The figure didn't move. Maybe it wasn't him. Maybe it was a driver stretching his legs in a hoodie. My hands were slick on the wheel. I kept checking the clock. Midnight crept past the dash like one more mile marker. Everything after that was me negotiating with myself. It's fine, it's nothing, stop it. Then something small would happen that wasn't dangerous by itself, like the lane assist buzz when I drifted an inch toward the rumble strip, and my heart would jump like I'd just missed a head-on collision. I did a breathing thing my ex taught me, 4 in, 6 out, and it helped enough to keep my speed steady. A little before McLean, I decided I needed to know whether I was losing it or not. I needed to see what the dashcam saw. It stitches 10-minute files. You can pull them up on the little screen while parked. It's not safe to watch while rolling for obvious reasons. I set my mind on the next safe pull-off, like it was a finish line. There's a shoulder on a low-traffic business spur there, wide enough for a tractor, with no signs telling you you're an idiot for using it. I signaled, eased off, killed my hazards because I didn't need attention, and set the brake. The pops from the airlines sounded too loud in the quiet. When you stop in the middle of nowhere, every normal sound becomes suspicious. I scrolled the last few files. The first sighting, the man near Tucumcari, was there like my memory said. Hood up, Dark jacket, hands at his sides. The headlights washed across him too fast to see a face. His shoes were dark. No bag, no sign, no reflective strips, just a still person beside a river of death. I moved forward file by file. There, near the access road in Texas, same posture. The hood shape, the angle of the shoulders. Nothing illegal about standing on a shoulder, but something about the way he claimed that thin strip of world, like it belonged to him, sent a cold rope down my spine. Then the third thing, same man, same jacket, hands in his pockets. Only this time he was on the left shoulder, not the right, standing in the break between the concrete barriers where a turnaround for emergency vehicles sometimes goes. My headlights caught him 3 lanes across, and for one frame, one blur that the dashcam stills at, his head was angled right at my truck like he'd been waiting for me. I couldn't explain the distance covered. I did the math on a notepad later. I saved the mileage on the trip meter. From where I first saw him to there was roughly 300 miles. Even if someone got a ride, even if they leapfrogged exits, the timing didn't make sense. I didn't know what to do with that, so I did nothing. I sat there with the little screen glowing in the cab and the sound of my own breathing. Then a knock on the passenger door. 2 soft taps, not a slam, not impatient. The kind of knock people use when they don't want the whole parking lot to look. I froze so hard my neck hurt. I didn't look right away. Looking makes you part of it. I reached for the flashlight in the door pocket and felt how stupid a flashlight is when you re-scared. It doesn't change anything. It just lets you see the thing you don't want to see. I clicked it on and held it low. I didn't sweep it around like in a movie. I kept it near my right thigh and turned my head just enough. The window was still fogged a little from my breath. A shape stood there, hood up. Closer now, you can sense height and build with your body, even if your eyes don't want to get specific. Average height, not tall, slight shoulders. I remember seeing a line of moisture on the glass where his exhale made a small oval that slowly spread. "Yeah?" I said. My voice didn't sound like my own. "I'm not opening. You need a tow?" My finger touched the horn pad just so I knew where it was. No answer, just breathing. Another tiny knock, lighter this time, like knuckles tapping fingernail on glass. I thought about rolling down the window just an inch to hear him. I didn't. The rational part of me was still there, beaten down, but there. I grabbed my phone and considered 911. I hesitated for the dumbest reason. I didn't want to be the guy who called the cops on a stranded man who couldn't hurt anyone but his own pride. That's how you get jaded in this job. You see too many messes, and pretty soon you file everything under "not my problem" until it is. Not my problem until it is. "Sir," I said, and I hated that I used a polite word. "I can radio for help if you need it. I'm not opening up." My mouth was dry enough to click on the P's. I kept the dashcam's tiny screen up like it was a talisman. He leaned forward just enough that the hood shadow shifted. I saw the lower half of a face, pale lips chapped in the cold, stubble, a small line like a scar or chapped split at one corner. Not monstrous, not a horror movie. A guy who forgot chapstick and had windburn. He lifted his right hand slow, palm toward me. No weapon. I couldn't see the fingertips. Gloves, maybe. He tapped the glass with 2 knuckles twice. Not aggressive. It was the calm that made it worse. I hit the horn. 1 blare. It startled him back half a step, just a reflex. He didn't run. He didn't curse. He didn't flip me off like a normal person would. He put his hands back in his pockets and turned his head, not at me, not into the field, but down the road like before, like he was watching something approach that wasn't there yet. He held that angle for a second, then walked out of my headlight spill and was gone. Not gone like vanished, gone like the dark took him, and that was that. I didn't chase. I didn't throw the door open and yell. I sat, counted to 30, turned the truck over, and pulled away. My shoulders ached from being up around my ears. The whole cab smelled like cold plastic and whatever sour thing comes off your own skin when the adrenaline tap opens. I considered a trooper station. It would have meant a detour. There's a number you can call for the highway patrol too, but I kept thinking what I'd say. A man knocked on my door. That happens. He looked ordinary. That happens. He might be the same guy I saw on the shoulder 300 miles ago. That part flips you from concerned citizen to someone they put on hold. I told myself I'd call if I saw him again. Deals you make with yourself aren't worth anything, and I knew it, but I made them anyway. Past Shamrock, I decided to stop for the night because my hands wouldn't have stopped shaking on the wheel. The truck stop was busy enough to feel safe. I parked under a camera. I put the shade in the windshield and pulled the curtain behind the seats, and that thin fabric felt like a wall and a joke at the same time. I checked the door locks twice, then again. Then I lay down, fully dressed with my boots by the pillow, like I was going to run a sprint in my sleep. I don't really sleep on nights like that. You drift. The heater cycles, the fridge hum clicks, and you imagine footsteps. Around 3, I woke up gagging because I dreamed someone had their fingers in my mouth. Stupid, I know. I sat up, tasted metal, swallowed bile, and told myself to get a grip. The cab air had a smell I hate. Old heat, stale coffee, and something like cold sweat in a gym bag. My scalp itched. I scratched and felt tiny grit at my hairline. Road dust, maybe. I wiped my palm on my jeans, and it left a faint grey streak. I got up and looked at the dashcam, because if I was going to sit there marinating in fear, I wanted a reason. I pulled the file around the time I pulled off on that spur. I watched the knocks happen from the camera's perspective. There's no sound on the front cam, just the grainy view through the windshield. You can see the shadow approach the passenger side. The cabin cam, yeah, I had the tape off. Showed my own shoulders hunch and my eyes cut right. It's not flattering seeing yourself scared. The angle caught a sliver of the passenger window. You couldn't see his face, just the hood shape and a line where pale skin meets fabric. When he turned his head down the road, I saw something I didn't register in real time. A faint, reflective strip low on his jacket, the kind stitched on near pockets sometimes. It picked up a slice of my dashlight. That's how I knew it was the same guy. The strip had a nick in it off to the left, a little missing triangle, like someone snagged it on wire. I scrolled back to the first shoulder sighting and paused where the headlights washed. You only get a frame or two, but the strip flashed, and in the flash there was that same nick. Then the second sighting. Flash nick. 3 places, same nick. I wish I hadn't found that. It took the maybe I'm crazy option away, and I needed that option. I needed the idea that I was tired and seeing patterns. Instead, I had evidence. I sat with my thumb on the pause button and felt my heart beat in the middle joint like it was going to split the skin. I called a friend, another driver, Brian, because he was the only person who wouldn't tell me I was overreacting. He answered with that half-awake growl. I told him the facts, just the facts, trying to keep my voice from drifting toward panic. He listened like you listen to a driver who is 2 steps from doing something dumb. People mark trailers, he said. Seen it at truck stops, zip ties, chalk, all that. Means you're solo or running certain loads or you're easy. Groups do it. They'll follow. They'll try to catch you when you're refueling or taking a leak in the weeds. But this standing on the shoulder, 3 places, I don't like that. What do? I said, and I hated the way it came out. I'm not a kid. I've been in bar fights and tornado warnings, and I've changed a steer tire on the side of a highway with the wind trying to fling me into Oklahoma. But I asked him like a rookie who lost his first bill of lading. Drive in daylight, don't stop where it's dead. If somebody knocks, hit the horn like you did. Don't open, keep the fuel doors locked. Check your latch every time, not just with your eyes. And if you see him again, call it in. Don't argue, call. We hung up. I didn't feel braver. I felt like I had homework I didn't want. Sun rose grey. It didn't make anything feel safer. It just made everything visible. I did another walk around. Tire thumps, bolts, lights. I checked the trailer latch, and this time I saw something I missed under the nightlight. A new scuff on the paint where the handle meets the plate. Fresh metal glint, not something that happens by itself. My seal was intact. The padlock looked normal. I put 2 fingers on the handle and felt a slight give. I swear wasn't it there the first time. Like someone had pulled and stopped just before the lock would have complained. I tightened the lock and told myself it could have been me last stop. It's amazing the stories you can make for yourself in daylight. I rolled out late, sticking to bigger stops, more people. I told my dispatcher I was a little behind for reasons and left it at that. Past the Oklahoma line, I started to breathe normal again. The world gets small in the night and bigger with cars and sun. I told myself the distance mattered. A different state, different fields, different wind. It shouldn't have mattered, but it did. And then the 4th time. Mid-afternoon, sun sideways, long truck shadows stretching into the grass. Eastbound, 2 lanes, barely any shoulder. Up ahead, the highway curved gentle left past an old service road that paralleled the interstate for a 1/4 mile, then dead-ended into a farm gate. No traffic behind me. A pickup ahead at a distance. The service road had weeds growing through cracks. At the far end of it, right where the fence line made a V, a figure stood just inside the mesh, watching the interstate. Hood up, hands in pockets, jacket with a nicked reflective strip near the pocket. I didn't slow, I didn't speed, I kept my hands steady. It felt like threading a needle with your heartbeat in the way. I looked once, but I forced myself not to again. I didn't want to skid the truck sideways because my brain chose a crash over a look. I passed. In the mirror, I saw him turn, not following me with his head, but turning to his left, like listening for something. I called it in then, State Patrol. I gave mile markers, description, told them I wasn't stopping. The dispatcher had the tone you get when you've heard 1,000 versions of crazy and 50 versions of dangerous, and you have to decide which one I was. She told me to keep moving and a unit would check the area. I said thank you like it was a normal transaction and not me putting the part of my life where I pretend things make sense into someone else's hands. No car ever pulled me over to update me. No officer called me back. Maybe they drove by and saw nothing and it went into a log that lives in a drawer. I finished my run, dropped my load, showered in water that never got hot enough, and lay in a bunk that wasn't mine, thinking about the kinds of people who stand beside roads at night for hours without shivering, and what they're waiting for, and how many trucks drive past thinking the same thoughts and doing nothing. You want a clean ending, and I don't have one. The next week, I replaced my Dashcam with a newer model that grabs plate shots better. I added a secondary lock on the trailer hasp that would be overkill for most runs. I changed my routes to daylight legs when I could, even if it meant fighting city traffic that makes me curse. I moved my knife from the overhead to the door pocket. I bought a little personal alarm that screams at a pitch that makes dogs lose their minds. I stopped taping the cabin cam. I want to know when I look like a coward, because maybe being a coward is why I am still here. Now and then I scroll those files. I watch the frames where the reflective strip flashes, and I think about the space between those flashes. The hours of highway that rope across the map where he could be been anywhere. Maybe it was one guy with a ride and a sick hobby. Maybe it was 2 or 3 with the same jacket trying to rattle someone for reasons I don't understand. Maybe they tagged my trailer with the zip tie as a message to someone down the line. I don't know. I only know those 3 flashes and a knock on my door and a face that wasn't a monster and scared me more because of that. Sometimes in traffic now, when a car hangs just a little too long on my right blind spot, I feel the exact weight of that zip tie in my pocket again, the one I cut off in the rest area. I kept it. It's in my glove compartment under the insurance paperwork and a bag of fuses. I don't know why I kept it. Maybe to remind myself that the thing happened in the world, not just in my head. Maybe to make sure I don't relax too much when the world looks harmless. I don't tell a lot of people. People who don't drive at night don't get it. They think the highway is a line on a map and not a place with its own rules and predators. They say I should have helped the man. Maybe I should have. But I've seen the reports, the robberies, The drivers found knocked out behind their cabs. The guys who wake with their wallets gone and their heads ringing, if they wake at all. You learn to measure risk in inches and seconds. You learn to listen to your skin when it tells you to shut the door. There's one more thing and then I'll stop. A month after, I was fueling in Oklahoma City. Broad daylight, lot full of trucks and minivans and kids running where they shouldn't. I was wiping the windshield, organizing my thoughts into a day that felt like any other. A sedan pulled into the pump across from me. A guy got out wearing a jacket too light for the cold. He wasn't the man, different build, different posture. But as he walked past the pump, the sun hit a small reflective strip near his pocket, and there was a tiny nick in it, the exact shape mine had. I stood there with the squeegee dripping on my boot, and watched him go inside to buy whatever he needed. He moved like 1,000 other people, and if you saw him in a crowd, you wouldn't remember him later. I waited for him to come back out just to see if he looked at my truck. He didn't. He put his stuff in the car, got in, and left. It was nothing. It was everything. I threw the squeegee back hard enough to splash my jeans, and I laughed once. It sounded wrong. I'm still out here. I'm careful in ways I didn't know how to be before. I keep my eyes on the edges now, not just the lane ahead. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes it makes the night bigger than it should be. If you think this is nothing, I hope you're right. If you think I overreacted, maybe I did. But when I hear a knock on a door in my dreams, I wake up with my heart in my ears, and it takes a long time to get it to go back where it belongs. That's all I've got. I wish I could give you an ending where someone got arrested or I found a reason that made sense. All I have is a handful of frames, a knock, and a strip of plastic in my glove box. If you made it this far, thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Ebon for more real horror stories like this. Trust me, there's more out there than you think.